Yo, yo. What is good, freedom marchers, freedom family, freedom lovers, freedom fighters? Good afternoon. Snapzilla Gorillas in the building. I'm gonna holla at y'all with a quick live stream. I just wanted to touch on this real quick, get my thoughts out before too long. I wanted to get them out. Just got through doing, just got out of the gym. Today was a leg day. You know, I did some leg work and then I ended with some sprints. You know what I'm saying? Ended the session with some sprints on the treadmill. So still keeping my sprints up. Got to. Since I ain't, been able to get outside and do them. Anyway, man, yo, Brian Redrum Norman Jr. I know they call him Norm the Storm, but I'm calling him Redrum because he just murked Jen Sasaki with a vicious left hook in the 5th round this morning. Straight flatlined him. Like, his body was laid out like he was getting ready to do some snow angels. I'm going to tell you what, Bobby. Brian Norman Jr. is a dog. He's a beast at 147 pounds. And, but I got to tell you, Jen Sasaki was the perfect matchup for him, right? Because Jen Sasaki was right there in front of him. He was trying to trade with him. Brian Norman Jr. was clearly the stronger, more athletic, and more determined fighter. Trillwell, what's good, brother? Salute to you. Salute to you, brother. Nice to see you in here, man. Yeah. Jen Sasaki was the perfect matchup for Brian Norman Jr. to showcase his talent, to showcase why he is the one, or one of the ones at 147. Well, now that Boots left 147, you might want to say he is the one. Mario Barrios definitely does not have a chance against him. So I would say Brian Norman Jr. is the one at 147 pounds. Dead Mike, what's good? Happy Juneteenth to you. Happy Juneteenth, y'all. Beautiful day. So Brian Norman Jr., who I now call Redrum, he is a problem at 147. And last week, or earlier this week, Devin Haney kind of went in on Brian Norman Jr., right? Devin Haney called him out. I guess there was some type of mix-up where Brian Norman Sr. basically called out Devin Haney, and I guess Devin thought it was Brian Norman Jr., and he said he was ass and this, that, and the third, and then said, don't price yourself out. This fight has to happen next. Stray Gazilla, what's good? How you doing, brother? Brian Norman Jr. versus Devin Haney has to happen next. Brian Norman Jr. basically said that he'd be ready by October. He wants to fight in October. Devin had a slot open in October. They need to fight. They need to fight next. Point blank and period. You can get that out of your head. Boots just announced he's going to 154. Now, unless Brian Norman Jr. goes to 154, it's not going to happen. So let's talk about more immediate possible fights for Brian Norman Jr. Brian Norman Jr. is a boxer puncher. So not only can he punch, right? He has a vicious left hook. I've seen that multiple times, multiple fights. Vicious left hook, decent footwork. Kind of reminds me of Errol Spence Jr. in the way, because he doesn't just plod forward, right? He knows how to cut off the ring. He knows how to trap you. He knows how to get you on the ropes. He knows how to step and throw and catch you with something. And that's what he did to Jen Sasaki. It was he stepped left and threw that hook at the same time. So it wasn't really a check hook. It was more like, I'm stepping and I'm throwing that hook. It wasn't really a check hook. He didn't pivot, right? Not necessarily a full pivot. So Brian Norman Jr. he's dangerous. But Jen Sasaki was a perfect matchup for him. And this was a smart fight. The matchup in general was very smart. Jen Sasaki postulated himself and asked for this fight with Brian Norman Jr. and they strategically, it was a very smart fight. It's a very smart matchup. We're going overseas, especially with all the hubbub surrounding, you know, T.O. challenging people, challenging Boots, and Boots moving up, then moving down, then saying he's uncomfortable, then he's comfortable. He can make the weight, can't make the weight. All these things surrounding 147, all the controversy. Devin going to 147. Devin putting Brian Norman Jr. on his list, on his hit list. Right? All these things surrounding 147 put Brian Norman Jr. in a perfect position to show that, you know, he is a valuable talent in the sport. And at this point, the way he flatlined Jen Sasaki, before this fight had a knockout ratio of over 90%. Now it's like 89%. Jen Sasaki, his knockout ratio dropped to 89% because of Brian Norman Jr. And he got flatlined, like laid out, right? Just, it was crazy. That was a great fight. That was a great great showing by Brian Norman Jr. Now, Devin versus Brian Norman Jr., that is going to be a very difficult fight for both those guys. Because Devin he's not going to stand in front of Brian Norman Jr. He's not going to allow, especially with that left hook. Devin is aware of the left hook now. Now, Brian Norman Jr.'s left hook is fast and is strong and is powerful, but it's not as fast as Ryan Garcia's, right? Now, Brian Norman Jr.'s left hook is more powerful. And he can thump with both hands, by the way. Brian Norman Jr. can thump with both hands. You know what I'm saying? So that's going to be an interesting fight. Devin, of course, he's going to box, right? He's going to box. He's going to use a jab. He's going to try to turn Brian Norman Jr. because one thing about Brian Norman Jr. is his stance is wide. His stance is wide. He plants himself, but he can move while punching at the same time. He has quite the arsenal. But I think Devin can kind of mitigate a lot of Brian Norman Jr.'s strength. And I think Brian Norman Jr. can mitigate a lot of Devin's strength. So it's going to be a barn burner. It's going to be an edge of your seat fight. And Devin, you talk shit. Devin was talking shit about Brian Norman, talking about he was ass. So, and Brian Norman Jr., you know, I don't think he really said anything, but his people are. We got to make this fight happen. We can't be, you know, can't be no ducking, can't be no excuses. I don't see why it can't happen. Brian Norman Jr. is available. Devin's available. It needs to happen. I'm very excited to see this fight. What the hell is going on with the goddamn farmer's market? God damn it. Anyway, this fight needs to happen. I don't care what needs to be done. Devin needs to call Turkey right now. I think Brian Norman Jr. is number 5 on his list. He needs to call Turkey right now and send Brian Norman Jr. an offer for $11 million. I was just listening to Champ Side. He's still live, by the way, if you guys want to go check out Champ Side. If you guys aren't familiar with him. Tay Jones is on Champ Side's channel, and I was listening to it, and Tay Jones he's talking that big shit for Brian Norman Jr. They want this. Tay Jones said he's in Brian Norman Jr.'s camp. Now, Tay Jones is saying they want that. Well, he's saying he wants the Devin fight next. We need to make this fucking happen. You know, make it happen in Vegas. Make it happen in Atlanta. I'm sure Devin would go to Atlanta. Devin would go. Oh, damn, Jen Sasaki probably is still asleep. They took dude out on a stretcher. They took Jen Sasaki out on a stretcher. Now, here's the thing. I got questions. Devin does need a good fight. And Brian Norman Jr., now that Devin is at 147, that is the fight that Devin needs. That is his fight. Brian Norman Jr. needs to fight Devin Haney, and Devin Haney needs to fight Brian Norman Jr. So when I was listening to Tay Jones, I heard anyway, guys. Thank you guys for checking in and seeing what I'm talking about. Hopefully this fight happened next. I got to get off this live stream, man. Apparently the power in my house went out, so I got to go check on that. I got to go check on my kids, who are home dealing with it. So, yeah. Don't y'all want to see that next? Then Mike, my phone ain't bugging. It's my wife called, and when you get phone calls while you're on live stream using your phone, it kind of fucks the live up. So, my bad, y'all. Let's make this fight happen, man. We need to make it happen. We need to make this fight happen. Let's do it. I'm very excited. Let's make this fight happen in October. I'm looking forward to it if it can. And man, that's going to be something else anyway. Anyway, guys, hopefully you guys can hear me. If not, it is what it is. Check me out later. Much love, like, share, subscribe, and we're going to keep marching forward toward freedom. Peace.